how's it going? I'm IlaGolden and welcome to my vlog. Alright, so at the end of the last video I said that I wanted to talk about things that I was into and interested in today, opposed to talking about anything to do with my multiverse lore or anything to do with my writing or anything like that. I've decided this is something that I may want to do a few more times, just to sort of break things up a little bit and to let you guys get to know a little bit more about me and how I think and how I tick and what I'm into and the kind of things that are probably influencing my work, even if, you know, I'm not necessarily 100% aware of it. Because as I was saying at the end of the last one, I do find it very difficult to talk about my influences and my inspirations because I don't always necessarily know. And the video that I did on it, although I don't regret doing that video, I do feel like I could have done it better, because, you know, it is something I do find difficult to sort of put into words, and I was kind of like, well, the better way for me to do this is probably for me to just talk about the things that I'm into and the things that I'm interested in, opposed to trying to justify how these things find their way into my work, because yeah, we'll go with that. So I've decided today that I want to talk about three different things, or three particular things. One thing that I feel has had a very big impact on my life, and it's something that I've been interested in for a long time. One thing that has had, you know, something that I've been interested in the past, and not necessarily as big a fan of it now as I was, but it's something that, you know, I still enjoyed and still to a degree enjoy now. And one thing that I'm currently very into, just to give you guys a little bit of variety and a little bit of, you know, me history, me history and my interests. I know that didn't make any sense whatsoever. I don't care, I'm going with it. So the first thing that I want to talk about is my love for all things ancient Egypt. This is something that I've been into since I was 7 years old, and we learnt about mummification in class. I don't know why. I don't know why that particular thing, that particular detail, is why I fell in love with the whole idea of the ancient Egyptian culture and that sort of, I don't know what it is. But it's something that I've been very interested in since then. So, like, whenever there's a documentary on, I like to, you know, watch that, and you know, I've seen the same documentaries, the same, you know, things about ancient Egypt several times. It's like my go-to. If I'm bored, I'll seek out a documentary about ancient Egypt. I don't care if I've seen it 5 times already, just because there's something about that whole world and that whole culture that I just find so fascinating. And maybe it's because there's so many gaps in our knowledge, in our current knowledge, or maybe it's just there's something about the artwork and what they've left and their impact on history and their impact on the world, which is just shrouded in mystery and whatever. It's just, there's something about it that I do love and I do enjoy, and I do have a great deal of passion for. I've got, you know, books in my this bookcase behind me which are either set in ancient Egypt or just, you know, about ancient Egypt. You know, I've got this, and this is one of many mock replica artifacts I've got dotted around the place that I live. I mean, I had one friend, you know, after I moved in here, when they sort of came, when I had my friends over for the first time, and they sort of came down into my flat, and they were like, it's like walking down into an Egyptian tomb, and I was like, yes, that's exactly what I was going for. That's exactly why I decorated it that way. So it is something that, you know, I'm very into and very, very, there's a fascination there, there's a love there, there's a true kind of, I wish there were more documentaries that I could watch. I wish there were more things that they were uncovering all the time that I could find out and that I could understand this culture a lot better. And it's just, I don't know why it was mummification in particular that made me interested in ancient Egypt. I don't know why, there's just something about it. There just really is. And, my dream ultimate vacation, which I do hope to do one day, is to take a cruise down the Nile and, be able to get off at some of the, the wonders of ancient Egypt, and maybe not necessarily, because I know a lot of the places you can't actually go into anymore, but to at least be there, to at least see these things, to at least, have actually gone to, the actual place where, I feel like I've got this huge connection to. It's just, ancient Egypt. Ancient Egypt, my bae. So I think you can gather which of the three that one was. So the second thing I decided that I want to talk about today is Charmed, the TV series. I know there have been various books and various comics and stuff that have come out since it's finished. Unfortunately, I have one of the books somewhere, but I've never really read the books or read the comics, although after I finished watching every single episode the second time, basically, I liked it sort of in my late teens, early 20s, but I missed a lot of episodes for various reasons, whether it was because I was in university or because I was working, just didn't have the ability to watch this show sort of as it was airing and whatever else. And then 2-3 years ago, I sat down and I just watched the entire show from the first season to last season through twice, just consecutively. I got all the way to the end and then decided to go back to the beginning and go all the way through to the end again. And after I did that, I looked up online and read a lot of the stuff, and so I'm aware of some of the stuff that's kind of come from it sort of post the series, and various bits and pieces have sort of been written sort of alongside the later seasons and stuff. But yeah, I love the characters in it. I love the sisterhood. I mean, I don't have sisters myself. I have 2 brothers, and I do love my brothers, but understanding sister relationships isn't something that I naturally do understand, because it's not a relationship that I've actually had and actually experienced. And although I do have friends who I consider to be like sisters to me, again, it's still a completely different thing. So I love watching the show to see, what it's like in part having sisters. No, it's not necessarily an accurate representation, but whatever is what's an accurate representation of anything, really. I love the magic in the show. I love the show's lore and the way they've sort of, there are a few inconsistencies here and there, but it's still a good show. It's still an interesting show to watch. It's it's full of strong characters and strong ideas, I think, and yes, it can be a bit cheesy at times, and yes, it's not necessarily the best thing written ever, but it appealed to me a lot. I did at one point actually want to cut my hair into a bob, because, it looked good on them. I've never had my hair sort of shorter than shoulder length, and that's not something I regret at all. I do prefer my hair being long. But yeah, no, in terms of, how they dressed and how they styled themselves, in terms of, the storylines they tackled and the issues they tackled, I did enjoy watching the series. I do occasionally, if it's on the TV, we'll sit down and thoroughly enjoy watching an episode. But it's not necessarily something I'm, actively into at the moment. It's not something that I'm going out my way to look for things about it. But when I was into watching it, and as I said, like a couple of years ago when I watched the series through twice consecutively, which is probably when it was having the biggest influence on me, I did enjoy it. I did like, looking up like tidbits and random details and errors and stuff for each of the episodes. I'm one of those types of fans. I mean, I don't enjoy sort of nitpicking it personally, but I like the idea of other people nitpicking things and other people sort of pointing out quips and quirks and stuff like that I don't necessarily notice myself. And then when I watch it through again, you kind of almost enjoy it more for knowing that it's flawed than you would for thinking that it wasn't. And as I said, it is a show that it does have a lot of flaws to it, but I like the characters, I like the presentation of magic. It appeals to me as somebody who likes fantasy and somebody who enjoys writing fantasy, because it's something that does concentrate so much on interpersonal relationships. Yes, you've always got like that big bad and the monster of the week type thing going on, but it's the relationship between the sisters, it's the relationship between them and their partners that it really made the show, and it really sort of it is something that I am glad that I've watched, I'm glad that I enjoy, and it's something that at some point in the future I'll probably sit down and watch the entire series again. Because I can, because that's just what I do. Alright, so time to move on to the thing that I'm into currently, and hopefully it'll be less bubbly. But who knows? So far we've had one thing that I'm into which isn't strictly speaking story related, it's just something that I'm into and that has had an impact on my life. We talked about one thing which is story related because it's a TV show and that's what TV shows are. And the last thing I want to talk about is a video game, or a video game franchise, and it is Five Nights at Freddy's. It's a thing that I'm very, very into currently. And as you can see, from my top, yeah, I'm a fan. I'm also a fan of game theory, but that's probably for another one of these. just saying. So why do I like Five Nights at Freddy's? Why is that something that I'm really into right now? Do I play the Five Nights games? I have Sister Location downloaded on my laptop, and I've made it to night 3, and my laptop just won't let me complete that night for some reason. It just keeps not letting me be able to complete that night, and it's really frustrating. I've not played any of the other games, but I have seen people play them. I'm a YouTube watcher as well as a YouTuber. Because I wouldn't say it's necessarily the games and the gameplay itself that I like Five Nights for. It is the lore. I do own both the Silver Eyes novel and the Twisted Ones on my Kindle, which is right here, by the way. And I enjoy both. I'm looking forward to the movie coming out. I really want the movie to come out. I'm so... I swear, when I see the trailer for the movie for the first time, I'm going to freak out and be so excited and be so happy, because I want to see it, and I want to see it in the cinema. I don't care who I have to drag with me. I don't care if they have no idea what FNAF is whatsoever. I'm going to drag someone with me, because it is an experience I want to share with somebody else, even if they're not as excited about it as I am. Because it is something I do have this. I don't quite understand passion for, but it does very much tie into what I've said before when I sort of speak of myself as being somebody who is a fangirl who likes fan stuff. FNAF is probably the best example of that, because it's the lore videos and the theories that I enjoy. I enjoy the songs that have been created by fans. In fact, my MP3 player, bar about 4 or 5 songs, maybe a couple more at this point, but they're all also fan-made songs. But bar about that, my MP3 player is sort of, you know, filled with songs related to FNAF, the first 4 games, or sister location, and then the few that aren't are either to other video games or to My Little Pony, which again I will talk about in another one of these. And I think there's something to it. There's something to it, and I don't know if it's the idea of the incomplete story and that need for completion, or if it's to do with, you know, the fan stuff itself that maybe I'm more into than anything else. But I mean, I do like the characters. I really, really want to get myself either some of the bears or some of the figures. Why does stuff cost so much money? I would have shelves filled with FNAF stuff if it didn't cost so much money. But yeah, no, it's other people's sort of enthusiasm and passion and creativity that just inspires me, and I just love it as much for what it has helped create as it for itself, and it itself is something that is incredibly fascinating. It's something I think that is worth talking about, and it's something that if you don't know about, you should maybe find out a little bit about, or if it's, I mean, it's not for everybody. I get that it's not for everybody, and I get that I'm, you know, not going to be able to sell it to people who it's not for, because, you know, if it's not for you, it's not for you. But I don't know, it sort of came into my consciousness, you know, a couple of years ago now, and to begin with, it was interesting. Yeah, it was, you know, okay, there is this game that, you know, has these interesting bits of hidden lore to it, and I think it wasn't really until the second game, and I watched the completionist's review of the second game, and there was, and he had the track from Living Tombstone for the first game, you know, at the end of his review of the first game, but it was the track at the end of his review of the second game that got me kind of going, oh okay, this is a bit interesting, I want to go check this song out. And it was from there, and I found several other songs by several other YouTubers, and it just blew me away that so much creativity could come out of something that was so relatively simple on the surface and so relatively complicated below the surface. And between the two things, between all the lore and all the, you know, the story within the game itself, and all the things that lore and that story was able to create, both in terms of fan games and in terms of the fan music and the fan art and the fan, you know, videos and stuff that people have created, and it is amazing just how much of an impact something can have on so many creative people, and how creativity can breed and creativity, and yeah, I do love it, really, more for that reason than anything else. Although I do absolutely, the songs I have on my MP3 player, I know most of them by heart at this point. There are a couple that I'm still sort of learning because they're new recent additions to my playlist. I mean, I'm always seeking out new songs, so if you have, you know, if you guys know any good FNAF songs that you can recommend me, go, you know, let me know who they're by and what they're called. Don't link them, just let me know and I will find them. And I will decide for myself whether I think they're good or not, and that's, you know, obviously my taste in music is going to be different to everybody else's taste in music, so the songs that I like fit in with my taste in music, for the most part. Some of them surprised me. Some of them surprised me that I actually ended up enjoying them when actually the style of music isn't necessarily something I'm that into. But yeah, it is something as I said, you know, if I could fill everything with FNAF merchandise, I so absolutely totally would. There is, you know, a t-shirt at the moment I really want, and again it's the price. Why does stuff have to cost so much? Why does stuff have to cost so much? I mean, I don't mind paying for you know, a couple of pounds for fan songs, but when you're talking, you know, 15 or plus more for their plastic figures, and I'm kind of like, oh, I don't really earn enough money for that. But yeah, yeah, we'll leave it there. Alright, well, I hope this has given you a little more insight into me and who I am and what I'm into and what influences might be influencing my work at various points. I've certainly enjoyed this. I think I've enjoyed this. I don't know if I was just, you know, babbling a little bit, but that's what I do, right? Okay, so we've had our fun little break from my lawn story-driven stuff. So on the next vlog, I think I want to get back to talking more specifically about my writing. And I want to talk about another of the stories that I've written, one that hasn't been published yet, but one that I'm supposed to be polishing up. I need to stop being so lazy with that. So the next vlog will be about Hyena Boy. So at the moment you're going to go, I have no idea. Hopefully once you've seen it, once it's up and you've seen it, you will understand who Hyena Boy is and why it's something that I do want to get out there and to get published, even though it's one of my rare non-fantasy pieces. So until next time, see ya!